That's the sound of Fastball from their new album, Sonic Ranch. The Austin-based trio has been going hard ever since they formed over 30 years ago. We all know their hits The Way and Out of My Head, but what do they sound like today and what keeps them going? Here is Miles Zuniga to tell us why they had to head out to West Texas to Sonic Ranch Studios this time around.
It's splendid isolation, though. It's like you get
to quote
there
Mr. Zevon.
Yeah. When you get out there, it's quite nice. And there's a pool and there's a staff that cooks for you and everything.
Nice.
So really all you have to do is focus on music.
Right.
You know.
Right. And as a studio, what kind of draws you to other than the location? Is there something special?
God, they're beautiful rooms. There's like at least 3 studios. Maybe there's 4. I'm not sure.
Right.
And they're all really nice. Like you definitely feel like you're, Barbara Streisand or something. The studios are quite posh and beautiful. And then on top of that, they have every kind of piece of gear you could want. They've got these great old amps. They've got vintage guitars. They've got beautiful instruments. So it really is an amazing place, you know.
Cool.
It's and I don't know. It's kind of the feeling. You're definitely there to work. You really feel like you're there to work. It isn't like there's some big attraction
right
close by that's compelling, you know.
Yeah. So since you've named the album after the recording studios, this is kind of your version of Abbey Road.
Well, we wanted to call the record Fastball, to be honest with you, because it's our 30th anniversary as a band.
Right.
And we just thought, well, this is some sort of kind of full circle moment, because we thought the record is really pretty good.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, we've been the same 3 guys this whole time. And it feels like the band's experiencing a bit of a resurgence. We just thought we should make it self-titled. But then, of course, anytime you're with a label, there's always a reason. There was some reason, like, this isn't a good idea because it's going to be hard to monitor, ...
Right.
I don't know what the reason was or what. You know, if you Google Fastball, you're going to get a million baseball hits. Right? So you have to wade your way through that, and that's probably part of the problem.
Yeah, that's a major thing these days. When you're naming your band, you got to think about how it Googles. Back in '94, whenever you guys formed, that wasn't quite the thing yet. No Google.
That wasn't really it might be better to be called Ned's Atomic Dustbin, you know.
Right. Very good. So speaking of 30 years, I mean, did you guys ever consider the fact that you'd be here 30 years later, still the 3 of you doing the same thing?
No, we never stopped to think, like, I don't think in those terms usually.
Right.
There have definitely been periods of the band's existence where you think, well, maybe I don't want to do this anymore, or like, wow, it sure seems like no one gives a damn. What are we doing? There've been phases like that, but having a band is great. The line of work I'm in is great. It's not like a grocery store where the produce is rotting. You know, we can't move it.
Right.
There's no overhead. There's no. It's just an idea almost. It's just the idea is the 3 of us get in a room and play.
Right. Yep.
And that's all it is. So it's incredibly easy to just set aside for however long.
Yep.
You don't have to break up. You could set it aside for years.
Right. Because you guys went off and did little solo things every once in a while, right?
Yeah, you do different things, and sometimes you know, there was a phase where I was doing whatever kind of musical work I could do just to keep my head above water, you know? It's like I've been very proud that I never had to stop playing music. That was always the goal, is play music. Yeah. So if I could play music in one form or another, and it was always creative too, like the kiss of death would be to have to do a wedding band type situation. I think then I might stop playing music.
Yeah.
Because in essence, you're not really playing music. You are playing music, but no one.
That's not what they're there for.
Every band I've seen, those guys are just waiting for the gig to be over.
Yeah. That's got to be a bummer. So, and I'm also curious. Now we're on the kind of career arc discussion before we get into the record. You guys had a huge hit in '98 with The Way and all that.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, that's all they know you about, especially outside of your immediate. Is that a good thing or a bad thing in retrospect?
I don't know. I mean, I'm very grateful we had that hit, and we also had another hit with Out of My Head.
Right.
Those are things that just keep. Otherwise, the band probably would have broken up a long time ago. I don't know. It's incredibly hard to keep going, even if you're quote unquote successful. You know, the next question is, how successful?
Yeah.
Because there's so many of our peers and people that have come down the line, they're all gone. They've all broken up, or they all had to go do something else. There's so many. It's countless.
Yep.
There's very few bands that have survived as long as we have that aren't playing stadiums. You know what I mean? Or playing that it's just a no-brainer. Of course you're going to do the band. Why wouldn't you do the band?
Right.
You know?
Yep. Well, I got to say, The Way is one of our family. I have two daughters who were like just the right age back when that came out. Man, did they love that song. We all did.
Well, it helps that it's a great song.
Yeah.
I might feel differently if it was an obvious, stupid novelty song like "I'm Too Sexy for My Shirt." You know, then you might feel like, "Wow, I really am." You know. I really am, pardon my French, sucking cock here, you know, to do this. This is kind of humiliating. I have to sing this dumb song,
right?
You know, I mean, whatever. Nothing against Right Said Fred, but it's not the world's greatest song. It's a novelty song.
Yeah.
Out and out novelty song. And at least our song's not one of those songs. Our song is a beautiful song and tells a great story. And is mysterious, and it's still really fun to play.
Oh, good.
So I'm pretty happy with the deal.
Yeah, good. That's good to hear. So out of the 10 songs that are on the new album, all but one were recorded at Sonic Ranch. So let's talk about the one that wasn't first.
I'd rather see you up and down, rather see you smile than frown, but I don't want to be your clown. If you want to go, if you want to play, I don't really know why I should stay. You can do what you want to do, but I'd rather be, much rather be me than you. Yeah, rather be, much rather be me than you.
That's called Rather Be Me Than You.
Right.
And that came about when we went to see John Fields.
Yep.
And John Fields, our A&R guy at the label, wanted us to work with John Fields. So we got on a Zoom call with him. We liked him right away, and he seemed to be of a kindred spirit. And so we decided to go out there, and the idea was he's going to mix a bunch of songs. And we actually had a gig. That's what it was. So we had a gig in Minneapolis, and he lives in Minneapolis. So we were just really going to go have dinner with John Fields, and afterwards listen to what he'd mixed. And then, and that was it. That was all we were supposed to do. We had a gig the next day.
Right.
So then we're in the studio, and then Tony suddenly brings up this idea he has for a song, and he was really wanted to try to record it. And I listened, you know, he'd played it to me before, but I wasn't really paying that much attention. You know, I was like, well, the record's done.
Yeah.
So he's playing it for John Fields, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just thinking, okay, this first part's not very good. But this second part's good, and the third part's really good. And you know what? I have an idea for the chorus. So if we take what was the second part, if we lop off the first part and then move everything back one, so the second part becomes the first part, the third part becomes the second part, and now insert my chorus, and you've got a song. And then I also had an intro. So we tacked it all together, but I was still thinking, well, we'll do this some other time.
Right.
But John Fields was like, let's do this right now.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I was like, oh, God. What? You know, we'd gone to dinner. We'd had wine. I was thinking, I'm going to go back to the hotel and watch a movie or something. Suddenly, we are working away, you know.
Man.
And so we recorded a bunch of stuff, and then I left, and then Joey had just flown in. He came straight from the airport, put the drums down, and the next day we pretty much finished it up. There was some other stuff we still had to do, but the song happened on what was supposed to be a day off.
And now it's leading off the album, and you shot a video.
And now it's the first single.
I love it.
Well, it's the most immediate song, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the best song, but it's the most immediate one.
All right. And it's kind of cool that it doesn't sound like you're too precious about your song. Like Tony was willing to hear that, oh, this is a good bit, this is a bad bit. He was happy to take in part of it.
Yeah, we got over that a long time ago. And like I like to say, not all your songs are going to go to Harvard. Not all I say kids. Like if people say, my songs are like my children, I'm like, that's right. And not all your songs are going to go to Harvard.
Yes.
Or not all your kids are going to go to Harvard. Some of them are going to end up in jail, you know.
Right.
Some of them will never write, never call, and you won't mind. You don't care about them. You know, there's other ones that are like the way that you know, that's like graduated from Harvard and then went on to found Google or something. You know?
Or
That's a really great song. That's a good kid there. That one, you know.
Excellent. So if Rather Be Me Than You isn't the best song, what do you consider the best song on the album? There's a
well, I really love. I mean, it's one of my songs, but I really love Hummingbird. I think is a really, really great song.
You've seen the Taj Mahal at night, and you've seen the Emerald Isle. You've seen the Valley of the Kings and Queens, and you've sailed down the Nile. You've seen everything you can see, but still it doesn't make you happy. What's the word, hummingbird? What's those voices that you've heard? Spend your days running around. It just brings you down. It just brings you down.
Daydream. There's a lot of really good songs. It's really kind of hard to tell. And you know, it's hard for me to have any perspective on my own songs.
Yep.
I do think that Tony's voice is more more immediately pleasing to the ear.
Okay.
So I wonder how our songs might do if it was like The Who, where, you know, he just sings everything.
Right.
You know, because his voice has a certain quality to it that just really sounds great.
Right.
On a recording.
Right.
You know, but I wouldn't want to. But that's a weird kind of hostage situation where, like, I don't feel like singing. Okay, great. So now, we might have recorded it, but now you don't want to perform it live. You know, I don't want to get into that. So,
all right. So going back to Hummingbird, I'm curious: is that written about a real person?
Yeah, yeah, it was. But like a lot of my songs, I then realized, oh, a lot of this is me projecting.
Right.
You know, this is actually about me or whatever. But it could be about anybody that's. I was in love with someone who ran a bunch of errands and then considered that an achievement. You know, it would be like, oh, well, I went to Target today and bought a bunch of stuff, and then I went over here and I got my oil changed, and I did this and I did that. What did you do today? And I'd say, like, nothing. Right. And they would kind of, you know, sneer at me, and I'd be thinking, you didn't do anything really. All you did was spend money.
Right.
You know, I've been sitting here trying to get a rhyme for porpoise, you know, or whatever. Right. I've been trying to make these words rhyme, you know, like I've been sitting here trying to bring something into being that otherwise wouldn't exist.
Yep.
It's a lot harder than going to get your oil changed. And so I get my oil changed too. I don't even consider that an achievement or any kind of, I just consider that something I wish I could just pay someone to do. Right. You know? Yeah. So
I'm guessing that relationship probably isn't continuing.
No, it's not. No. And I mean, but the song speaks to a larger thing of now more than ever. I wrote that song actually a long time ago. Now more than ever, that people just distracted and running around. You don't even have to. When I wrote the song, you actually did have to get in a car, right, and go somewhere to waste a ton of time.
Yeah.
Whatever, But now we all carry this digital cigarette box in our pocket that's just amazing at wasting time.
Yes.
And distracting you with meaningless stuff.
Yes.
And so it's actually a phenomenal time waster. And I think people do now more than ever get more distracted and diffuse. It's very hard to focus. You have to push lots of things aside now. It used to be easier to focus because life was so kind of, there wasn't anything going on immediately in front of you.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I noticed there was a lyric that referred to the Rolling Stones, "A Girl with the Faraway Eyes," in one of the tunes.
Oh, what song is that?
I think it's "Get You Off My Mind," if my notes are correct.
I was fine, but you shot me down. Misadventures of a tragic cloud, hanging around outside with nowhere to go. I fell asleep on a bed of lies, dreaming of the girl with the faraway eyes. Woke up to the sound of the radio.
Dreaming of the Girl with the Faraway Eyes.
Oh yeah, that's a Tony song. Tony likes to do that. We have another song called "I Get High," which is pretty popular considering that it's on a record that didn't do anything. I didn't know it was that easy to just write a song like "I Get High." The title does all the work for you, I guess. But people love that song.
Right.
But in that song, he says, "I hit the city and I lost you, girl," instead of "I hit the city and I lost my band," a la Neil Young. So there's that kind of stuff going on. Yes. You'd have to ask him about that one.
All right, I it's hard,
but he's done it before. Is my point.
Gotcha. That's cool. And I'm curious because you made reference to record label, and of course, back in 30 years ago when you started, music business was very different than it is today. I'm even most people don't even bother with labels that are at a certain level. Why are you working with a label as opposed to just doing everything yourself?
It turns out we're not that good at promoting ourselves. And
so you're not Amanda Palmer.
No, God, I wish I was. We were just given this opportunity. And I thought, well, okay, we've put out the last several records ourselves. Let's see what happens if we actually have a label. And I will say that the stuff comes out faster.
Right.
Because we just have to get it together to release it. And it's like we don't have any sense of urgency. They have deadlines and all this stuff. And they've got a staff. And then we hired a publicist. There's all these things going on that we wouldn't have done, probably. So our records are just... I'd given up, ironically, on making records. I truly felt and maybe still feel like, well, that's some kind of artifact from the past. Yeah. It made sense at the time.
Right.
But it doesn't really make sense now. It might make sense artistically, but I don't know anyone, I hardly know anyone who consumes records the way they used to be consumed. People just like a song and then they move on. The attention span is tiny.
Yep.
And I do it myself. These devices, I feel like they're inherent in the device is distraction. It's just a built-in feature. And the more you use it, the more distracted you get. And if I'm listening to music and I like something and it's going along, and then I'll go, oh my God, this kind of reminds me of Bob Dylan. You know what? I really want to hear Bob Dylan now. And I'll just switch horses and start listening to Bob Dylan.
Yep. I know that.
So that's part of the problem. I remember owning Double Fantasy by John Lennon and Yoko Ono and having to sit through those Yoko songs. No offense, Yoko, but they weren't on the same level.
Yeah.
But I was too lazy to get up and move the needle over.
When you're on that couch. Yeah, definitely. Well, it's interesting. The most recent song that I'm familiar with, I just started goofing around with TikTok. And since you're in Austin, there's that song Austin by Dasha. Are you familiar with it?
No, I don't know.
Oh my God. It's like, once you hear it, you'll never stop listening to it. It's like,
really? Okay, I'll check it out.
There's a line dance that goes with it. And it's extremely...
Is it a country song?
Yes, it is. And you just can't stop listening to it. And I have a grandson who's just about to be 2, we sit and listen to it all day. I'm going to teach him how to line dance because he loves
Wow.
the video. But yeah, it's called Austin, and it's so you should definitely check it out.
Is it about Austin?
It's about this guy. It's a breakup song, and she tells him to go back and continue being a drunken bum in Austin instead of
Oh, great. I'd
LA.
love to hear that.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. but yeah, I know.
Okay.
something to keep you occupied for the next couple of days anyway.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I invite you to come down and play for us. I'd love to hear
All
the
right.
Ray in the same room with you and this new
All
album.
right.
The new album's great. Congratulations. Thank you for
Thank
talking to
you.
me.